Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be checking out an incredibly powerful pick for the Ultra League Halloween Cup, XL RUNERIGUS. RUNERIGUS is a ghost and ground type Pokemon with the moveset of Shadow Claw, Sand Tomb, and Shadow Ball. I have run this Pokemon previously in the Great League, but now that I have the XLs thanks to the Halloween event, I tried it out in the Halloween Cup for Ultra League, and I was not disappointed. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out XL RUNERIGUS in action in the Halloween Cup. Hopping to the first match, picking up a tough lead Nidoqueen into Chill Drive Genesect. I save switch into Tapu Fini, and my opponent responds with a Nidoqueen. This team is structured around baiting out a potential Drapion, so the fact that I'm seeing a Nidoqueen here hopefully means they do not have a Drapion waiting for my RUNERIGUS in the back. They're going to go for the Poison Fang, that's going to land. I will reach a second Surf, so they're forced to throw more energy, and honestly, that works out great for me, as now they're energy dry, and I can bring in my own Nidoqueen, shield once, and then massively overfarm. This is enough for the Earth Power, so I will respect it with a shield. My opponent here actually does go for an incredibly big brain bait, recognizing that was my plan, and now I can't overfarm quite as much as I would want to. Earth Power is going to be enough to KO. They're probably going to be bringing back in the Genesect. I'm going to build up to the Earth Power and go for the Poison Fang, hoping to try and grab a shield. Poison Fang gets called, and that is incredibly bad. At this point, I think I'm just going to try and call back. So I let this through, just a Magnet Bomb. I'm able to survive, and I'm able to reach the Earth Power. My guess is they're going to be committing the shield now that they are debuffed. I'm going to bring in my RUNERIGUS, and they're going to fire off a move. I will commit the shield. Is it the Techno Blast? It is. And in the back, they have a Giratina altered. And RUNERIGUS absolutely feasts on Giratina. Giratina is going to fire off the Dragon Claw. That just does not do nearly enough damage. RUNERIGUS charging up the Shadow Ball. Massive damage onto the Giratina. RUNERIGUS farms down and leaves with a Shadow Ball loaded. Shadow Ball will be taken care of the Genesect. And that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Nidoqueen into Scizor. This is a bit of an uncomfortable lead, but Nidoqueen does have play here. So I'm going to build all the way up to the Earth Power and then bait with a Poison Fang. Scizor is extremely glassy, so I'm hoping that the threat of an Earth Power is enough to grab a shield. Poison Fang gets the shield. I farm up, go for the catch, but my opponent is able to hold on to their energy, and now instead of Night Slashes, they can fire off Iron Heads. Iron Head is able to land. They're going to fire off another charge move. They do have quite a lot of energy, so I will respect it with a shield, but unfortunately it is just a Night Slash. I'm going to farm up and then fire off the Surf just before they're able to reach their next move. Surf gets the shield. My opponent clearly does not want to see this Tapu Fini. At this point they're low enough where I'm just going to take shield advantage. Now that the Scizor is out of the way, hopefully my RUNERIGUS is going to have a lot of play in the end game. Nidoqueen able to farm down. They have a Giratina. In comes RUNERIGUS, and this is actually a Shadow Claw Giratina. In this meta, most Giratinas you see are going to be running Dragon Breath, as Dragon Breath is a lot more comfortable versus the Dark Poisons. I go for the Shadow Ball, but they make a very nice catch, catching the Shadow Ball onto their Genesect. Genesect is going to continue to farm up. I'm just going to go for a one shield farm down here, because if I can leave with a Shadow Ball, then I can secure this win. So I commit the shield, opponent full sends the Techno Blast, I'm able to farm down, and I leave with the Shadow Ball loaded. This will not one-shot from full health, but it will do massive damage. I can snipe with the Earth Power on Nidoqueen, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading into a mirror match, we have Nidoqueen into a Shadow Nidoqueen. Obviously, I do have a better response in the back, but I want to try and keep this away from Tapu Fini, so I'm going to stay in this matchup, build up to the Earth Power, and then go for the Poison Fang. Poison Fang bait does get the shield, and since I win CMP, I'm in a pretty good spot in this matchup. I shield back, opponent goes for the Earth Power, and now I'm ahead on energy. I'm going to farm up, opponent goes for an Earth Power catch onto Mandibuzz. I'm going to be firing off a Poison Fang just to soften up the Mandibuzz, and then I'm going to be bringing in my Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini does have a very comfortable matchup here, as Aerial Ace is not going to be doing a lot of damage. This Mandibuzz does have a ton of energy, and they're going to start firing off Aerial Ace after Aerial Ace, but even my Raid IV Tapu Fini is going to be able to absorb this damage no problem. They fire off Aerial Ace number 2, and they're on to Aerial Ace number 3. This is finally going to get me into the yellow health, but I'm still in a very nice spot here. I'm going to farm up and then fire off the Moonblast before they're able to reach their next move. Moonblast actually does get shielded. My opponent is going to bank a move and then bring back in the Nidoqueen. Very nicely done. Poison Fang is going to take me out, but now I get the switch advantage that I want, and I get RUNERIGUS aligned onto Shadow Nidoqueen, and RUNERIGUS absolutely destroys Shadow Nidoqueen. I'm expecting they're going to bring back in the Mandibuzz, so when they do, I'm going to bring in my Nidoqueen. In comes the Mandibuzz, and I get to meet it with my Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen is going to fire off a Poison Fang. Poison Fang is going to get them quite low, and I'm going to try and farm down here. Dark Pulse lands. That does quite a bit of damage. They're able to reach a last second move. I'm going to let this through. It is only the Aerial Ace, and in the back, they have Genesect. And if Genesect can farm me down here, this is going to be a bit scary. Earth Power lands. Genesect does get the farm down, and Genesect with energy is an absolute nightmare. They are very close to 2 moves here. I'm going to commit the shield. Genesect goes for the Magnet Bomb. I am able to get to the Sand Tomb. Is this Sand Tomb going to be enough to KO? Sand Tomb takes down the Genesect. All that's left is the Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz gets Shadow Clawed down, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a great lead, Nidoqueen into Scrafty, and the Scrafty is staying in here, which works out great for me. I'm going to farm up to the Earth Power and then fire off the Poison Fang. Either way, the move's not going to KO, but this debuff is really what I'm after, because after I lower their defense by 1 stage, the next Earth Power is going to be enough to KO. So I'm going to farm up and fire off the Earth Power on the CMP tie. Earth Power is going to be enough to KO if they let it through, which they do, and they're going to send in Shadow Scizor. Scizor is going to fire off a Night Slash. At this point, I'm low enough where I'm just going to let the Nidoqueen go. My opponent gets the boost, and this is where things start to get scary, because these Bullet Punches, now that they're boosted, are absolutely shredding my Tapu Fini. I'm going to fire off the Surf. Surf is going to be able to land. I'm going to continue to farm. At this point, I'm expecting they're just going to go for the resisted Night Slash. They go for the Night Slash. I switch, and they boost again. We now have a quad boosted Scizor, and I am in a tremendous amount of trouble. These Bullet Punches are absolutely shredding through the bulky RUNERIGUS. I'm going to be committing the shield. Night Slash gets shielded. In the back, they have a Charm Alolan Ninetales, and unfortunately, there's just not a whole lot I can do here other than bait and hope that they shield, but my opponent knows better than that. They let the first move through, they're going to shield the Shadow Ball, and they're going to be able to reach the Weather Ball. Weather Ball is going to be enough to KO, and at this point, Tapu Fini just does not have enough HP, and that is a good game. Terrible lead in the next match, Nidoqueen into Giratina. I save switch into my Tapu Fini, and I'm met with Galarian Weezing. Now, Galarian Weezing, not a Pokemon you see too often. It is a Fairy and Poison type, meaning you should absolutely not do what I do here and go for the Moonblast. As you can tell, I clearly was not super familiar with Galarian Weezing's typing, so I throw a resisted Moonblast at it. Thankfully, my opponent does commit the shield, and they continue farming up, allowing me to reach a Surf. Surf goes unshielded and actually takes out the Weezing. Let's go. So now I have switch advantage and shield advantage. Back in comes the Giratina Altered. Giratina is going to be firing off a move here. Ancient Power plus some farm should be enough to KO. Ancient Power is going to get me low. I try for the Moonblast, and I'm able to get there. Double resisting those Dragon Breaths, coming in clutch as I'm able to get the final shield. And now it is RUNERIGUS time. RUNERIGUS in a commanding position to close out this match, as Dragon Claw just does absolutely nothing. I watch for the catch. They have a Shadow Nidoqueen in the back, and there is nothing that RUNERIGUS loves more than a Giratina Nidoqueen core. I'm going to overfarm slightly and then fire off the Shadow Ball. With the debuff, this Shadow Ball is going to be enough to KO. Back in comes the Giratina. Giratina is going to get hit with Shadow Ball number 2. RUNERIGUS going on an absolute rampage and able to secure the win. Hopping into the next match, leading Nidoqueen into Dragalge. Dragalge, a bit of an uncomfortable lead. I'm going to stay in here to start, but I'm going to try and make a catch onto Tapu Fini. So I farm up, go for the catch, but my opponent holds on to their energy, and they're going to respond with a Shadow Nidoqueen. Not the poison type I was hoping to bait out, as I do typically want to try and bait out a Drapion, if at all possible. Surf is able to land, and that gets the Nidoqueen very low. Nidoqueen is going to return fire with the Poison Fang. Poison Fang lands, Tapu Fini is able to farm down, but I leave on very low HP. Unfortunately, this is going to be a range where Dragalge can farm me down, and as we've established, Dragalge with energy is very, very tricky for this team. I'm going to fire off the Surf. They know it's just the Surf. They're going to let that through. I do have energy on Nidoqueen, so I'm going to bring in the Nidoqueen and bait with a Poison Fang. Poison Fang does get a shield from the Dragalge. That's big. Dragalge is going to be firing off an Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail, not enough to KO, but will do quite a lot of damage. At this point, I think I'm just going to trust in RUNERIGUS. Aqua Tail gets me very low. I bring in RUNERIGUS. They're going to be firing off an Aqua Tail. I'm going to let this through. Aqua Tail doesn't do a ton of damage. In the back, they have Drapion, and that is extremely unfortunate. If my Tapu Fini was able to bait out that Drapion, then my RUNERIGUS would be in a prime position to sweep, but unfortunately my opponent read the team, brought in Nidoqueen instead of Drapion, and now my RUNERIGUS is in a very tough fight. I do have a shield advantage, but unfortunately, I shielded an Aqua Tail earlier on. I decide to call an Aqua Tail bait, but this time my opponent goes for the crunch, and they get the defense drop, and they're able to win CMP on the Aqua Tail. And at this point, unfortunately, I no longer have a win con, as my opponent can just save shields for Dragalge, and Dragalge is going to be able to clean up this game. In comes Dragalge, and I concede the match. Hopping into the final match, leading Nidoqueen into Obstagoon. This is a great Pokemon for my team to see, as both Nidoqueen and Tapu Fini have dominant matchups against it. Basically, as long as I can keep this Obstagoon away from my RUNERIGUS, I'm in a very good spot. They're going to tank a move and then bring in Shadow Nidoqueen. I do have an incredibly hard counter to Nidoqueen available in RUNERIGUS, but first I want to try and get a shield, because honestly, I don't really need switch advantage in this game. What's more important to me is getting shield advantage and then basically getting rid of my RUNERIGUS. RUNERIGUS is extremely powerful, but the thing is, if it's aligned against an Obstagoon, it's in an awful situation. So my plan here is basically just to get the Nidoqueen low, let the RUNERIGUS go, because at this point, if I get rid of the RUNERIGUS, then Obstagoon has nowhere to go versus my team, and instead get energy on my own Nidoqueen. In the back, my opponent has Tentacruel, and I'm incredibly happy to have played this the way that I have. I'm going to be going straight for the Earth Power. Earth Power is able to connect and does quite a bit of damage. Scald will do a ton of damage in return, so I am going to start committing shields. Unfortunately, my opponent goes for the Acid Spray. You hate to see it. I'm probably getting Acid Sprayed again. I will commit the shield. This time they actually do go for the Scald. I'm just going to continue farming up and then fire off the Poison Fang. Poison Fang, not going to be enough to KO, but will get them very low. They're going to switch in the Obstagoon, and I get to respond with my Tapu Fini. They do have quite a bit of energy here. They are running Hyper Beam, and that does a lot of damage. I'm going to fire off the Surf, because at this point, any chip damage is useful here. Surf does get the shield. Obstagoon knows their win con is to farm down, but Tapu Fini says no. Tapu Fini gets to the Surf. Surf takes out the Obstagoon. Tentacruel farms me down, but Nidoqueen does have the Poison Fang loaded. That will be enough damage to take care of the Tentacruel, and that is a good game. All in all, I think XL RUNERIGUS is a very powerful pick for the Ultra League Halloween Cup. It does very well against the Giratina Nidoqueen core, which honestly, I am expecting to see quite a lot of. It does struggle against mons like Drapion, but if you make sure to have some Pokemon on your team that can beat Drapion, on this team, for me, it is my own Nidoqueen, then honestly, RUNERIGUS can put in a tremendous amount of work. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.